Come on down, Ms. McCaskill. That takes us to our discussion agenda, discussion of proposed revisions to board policy IKG, secondary education.
Well, good evening and welcome to our new board members. Congratulations, board chair.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job, so
Thank you.
glad to work with you all this year. We have a proposed revision to policy IKG, which is secondary education. The State Department has come out with the South Carolina Academic Honors Award, which is very similar to what we had in terms of the Extended Studies Diploma that was only for Lexington Richland 5. And part of that was where you, each year, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, you're doing a service learning project, and then you're taking certain courses to get enough credits for this particular award. We'd like to phase that award out that's District 5 only and phase in the state's honor award so that we are abiding by what the state has available for us. So you'll see the revision to the policy just shows that phase out process. This will be the last year that 9th graders would be able to continue that so that by the time that they're in the 12th grade, they can still get the Extended Studies Diploma, but then next year's 9th graders would not have that option. They'll start with the South Carolina Honors Award. Of course, now you could do both because both are options. So so that's what we are recommending. If you have any questions tonight, I'm happy to answer those.
Do we have any questions? All right, thank you, Ms. McCaskill.
Thank you very much.
Oh, everybody's favorite topic, the discussion of the 25-26 school calendar. Ms. Taylor.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross, good evening. It does seem hard to believe, but it is time to set the 2025-26 academic calendar. The administration prepared 2 drafts this year for review. I'll go over them very briefly. Both drafts feature the first semester ending at the winter break. This is important instructionally as the high schools move to a 4x4 schedule in the next few years. And then just for cleanliness at the break to have the first semester finished so they don't have to carry that over into January. But the other features of draft A include teachers beginning on July 31st, which is 1 day earlier than it was this year, but it does allow for 2 student attendance days in the first week of school. This is important because it allows an A day and a B day for secondary students, and then it also allows for staggered start for our kindergartners. Half the class comes 1 day and then the other half comes the second day. And then what this draft also includes is a teacher workday on December 19th, the last day before winter break, which would allow teachers to complete their grades, have everything done from the first semester so that they can really unplug and be done over winter break and be able to enjoy the time fully. The long weekends in this calendar draft are the same as we have experienced over the past few years, so there is at least 1 day off every month, which we heard from teachers was a good bonus for them. And then the final feature of Draft A is all teachers and students are finished for the school year before Memorial Day. Friday before Memorial Day is the last day of school. Draft B is very similar because of trying to get 90 days in before the winter break. It did not allow for a lot of differences between the 2 drafts. But what some of those differences are that teachers don't begin until August the 1st. The other side of that is that only does allow 1 day of student attendance in the first week of school. Again, the long weekends are the same. There is an extra day at spring break in this calendar draft. And then there are 1 student attendance day and 1 teacher work day after Memorial Day in this draft to complete the year. So as we have done the past few years, we did a survey for the District 5 community. You can see the vast majority of the participants were District 5 parents, followed by staff members. And then the survey results were overwhelming, 2-to-1 for option A. We broke that down just a little bit to make sure that data told us what we needed to know. Of the students and staff who completed the survey, 59.9% preferred draft A, 40% preferred draft B. And then of the parents and community members who completed the survey, 70.2% preferred draft A, while 29.7% preferred draft B. So fairly consistent among the two groups. And then I did want to add as well that we sought input from our principals, from our faculty advisory committee, and from our parents advisory committee as well before we did the survey. So we had input from a lot of different groups. And then this is just for some additional information. As part of the survey, we asked the contributors to rate their highest preference for a school calendar. And then 42.3% of the people in the survey said they preferred fewer breaks in the school year and a longer summer, followed by the exact opposite, more breaks in the school year with a shorter summer. So, but we will take this into consideration as we are planning going forward. I just wanted to share that information that we had gotten from you, for you. And then based on the survey results, as well as the academic needs of the district, the administration's recommendation is that the board approve draft A. But I am happy to take any questions at this time.
Ms. Huddle?
If you go back to option A, the light green days, are those half days?
Those are the end of the 9 weeks, the last day of the 9 weeks.
Okay. Do you have any idea where the half days are?
The half days are the last 3 student attendance days. This is draft B. So those would be May 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
So there are no half days spread earlier in the year?
That's a different animal. Those are the elementary school early release days. And
Sorry.
it's okay. It's the same but different. Those will be set a little bit later after the calendar is approved. And that's those are set by the instruction staff.
Ms. Barnhart?
Not that it matters to this conversation, but is there a reason that they're on Thursdays?
I didn't hear your question.
The half days for elementaries on Thursdays?
As
Or
opposed
Wednesdays
to-
sometimes, as opposed to like a Friday? I've heard parents ask that question.
I'll answer, and then Ms. McCaskill can jump in too. If we have found that if we have those on Fridays, that students will take the entire day off and see it as a long weekend. So in order to have them in school as much as possible, it is a midweek day. Is that it?
That's correct. And the reason we don't use the same day is because in elementary school they have related areas 1 day per week. And so the related areas teachers actually requested it not be the same day because that would mean they would miss the same students every time.
Thank you.
Mrs. Scully?
Okay, you guys are killing me with this. I'm going to abstain from this vote. I got in so much trouble last year. The teachers, okay, so on Plan A, 60% of staff voted for that. How many of the 60% were teachers? Do you know that?
Above instead of, we didn't divide teachers, it was just staff.
Okay, so, but the teachers would be going back to school on July 31st.
That's
with
correct.
the month with a 7 in front. And they're okay with that. I can't imagine. I'm going to get in so much trouble that if I vote for that one.
And I'll speak to that. I think one of the constraints, because we talked to teacher advisory about that, and in there, that was one of the big things that every teacher is like, it's actually July, and I'm walking back into a building. And what we started talking about is the trade-offs. And I think that's kind of where, and I'm looking to the team if I speak in error, but in one era, yeah, I don't. But in the other, you gain so much benefits of the breaks during the year And then trying to get those 90 days before the winter break has really pushed us into that. And so those were the trade-offs that helped grapple with that day. But as one of the staff members pointed out, we're just talking about the next day. So while it does feel tough, it is that next day. And then the second one is on B. If you're opening up a school, especially with A Day, B Day, and kindergarten, we find that having those 2 days clustered make a much smoother opening. So the trade-off for that 1 day versus a much smoother opening, finishing at the winter break, that 90-day, it was those trade-offs. So in singularity, yes, that's tough. But in composite of all of the benefits that we get. And then another thing that we're seeing, and HR can attest to this, is when you have those long runs, specifically in March and February, we see just very high outages there. So trying to put in those intermittent breaks was trying to accomplish that. So I know you're right, that did come up as heartburn, but when we looked at everything in aggregate, that's why I think we got those numbers out of the students and staff.
Did they start this year? I know it was early.
August 1st.
August 1st, so it's just,
It was just 1 day.
that's
That one
just a
day.
psychological.
And that's what they said, the notion of it's July,
Yeah.
and we're hearing that. You know, we're seeing that year-round now with those 2-week breaks that are in schools. I'm not in favor of that. I know there's, that does allow the break time, so I think this is kind of that happy medium there.
And did we check with, we've got a lot of families of divorce that have to share the Christmas holiday. Which one suits that scenario the best, where they have to share weeks?
It looks like they were I don't think it was much difference in the Christmas.
Yeah, I think the winter breaks in both A and B are similar.
They're the same.
Yeah,
I
they
think
were
the
the
only
same.
thing that
Exactly
we
the same.
gain in B is 1 extra day in the spring break.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Ms. Snipes, I have a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Barnhart.
I move that we adjourn at 8:34 PM.
Do I have a second? A second for Mr. Sappho. Before I take the vote, I do want to say something. I know this is unorthodox for somebody who wanted to have conversation before we adjourn, but at one of Ms. Huddle's last motion leading into it, she made a comment about the personal attacks, and I'm going to take it as a point of privilege as the new chair to say this first meeting was a little bit rocky, but it is my hope that as we all have to serve together, at least for the next 2 years, that we'll all make an effort to be respectful of each other. We don't have to be best friends, but we are serving our community. They're watching, our kids are watching, students are watching, and I just hope that we could be a good example to everyone else. I'm asking y'all that as a fellow board member, for us to just try to do and be better as we come to these meetings every month. With that, all those in favor of Ms. Barnhart's motion? And that carries 7-0. Meeting adjourned.